like the Shaban family from Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, whose grandson Larry became the first senior elected Muslim official in North America as a minister in Peter Lougheed's cabinet. To be grateful for the merchants like the Kwong family from Canton, whose son Norm went on to become our Lieutenant Governor and was a great Edmonton Eskimo too. Sheepskin coats who left the steppes of Ukraine to plow virgin soil in our parkland, dotting the landscape with their beautiful onion-domed churches. For the oilmen, the engineers, the roughnecks, and geologists who came here from the United States and around the world to turn our resources into riches. To our newest Albertans, like our MC, Casey Madhu and his family, all of them, all of us, together, have built one of the most prosperous and generous societies in all of human history. You see, Alberta is not a random collection of people. It's not an accident of history. Alberta is an idea of a place animated by hard work and enterprise, thrift and personal responsibility, a place where how hard you work and how you treat others matters infinitely more than who your father was, where you came from, how you pray, or who you love. This is a compassionate society that understands that wealth cannot be redistributed to the least fortunate unless that wealth is first created by somebody through hard work. That idea of Alberta is under assault. It is being damaged every day by an ideological government that takes its inspiration from the failed theories of socialism, by a resentment of success, a distrust of enterprise, a mistaken belief that a powerful state is a greater force for good than strong families and a strong civil society. So many of our fellow Albertans are hurting. Nearly 200,000 are looking for work. Many others have just given up doing so. Tens of thousands of full-time jobs have been lost since the NDP came to office, and thousands of others have left the province. Near record levels of bankruptcies and insolvencies, as thousands of small businesses, who are the unsung heroes of our economy, struggle just to get by. All of this because of a government that has poured gasoline on the fire of a deep and long recession through reckless policies that have driven away investment and jeopardized our future, with higher taxes on everything, on incomes, on businesses, on property, and on payrolls, and of course now the largest tax increase in Alberta history, the multi-billion-dollar carbon tax, which will go up by another 50% next January the 1st, and will then go even higher because of the NDP's backroom deal with Justin Trudeau. And in one of the greatest scandals in Alberta political history, the largest tax in our history, was imposed on us by a government that did not mention it in the last election. It is the single biggest political lie in Alberta history. Economic pain and no environmental gain. On top of that, massive new regulations, higher labor costs, suing power producers, an unnecessary royalty review, all of it causing tens of billions of dollars in investment to flee our province, and with it tens of thousands of lost jobs. And you know, the NDP says, oh, they're just the passive victims of international commodity prices. Really? Since they came to office, Alberta has fallen from being ranked as the 15th best place in the world to invest in oil and gas to the 44th place in the world for energy investment. And during the same 2 years, Saskatchewan, right next door, with the same oil prices, has gone from the 7th best to the 4th best place in the world in which to invest in oil and gas. Over $30 billion of investment has been withdrawn from international companies and redeployed in the energy industry at the same prices, from North Dakota to Texas, from Iran to Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, This country is the most ethical producer of oil and gas with the highest environmental, human rights, and labor standards. If all of that wasn't bad enough, they're mortgaging our future. A province that not long ago was debt-free is now plunging into a sea of red ink, borrowing nearly $1 billion a month. That's $30 million a day, $1.2 million an hour, $2,000 every minute that we're going into debt. I hope I didn't depress you. It's no wonder that our credit rating has been downgraded 5 times under the NDP, making it more expensive for us to borrow. This is a vicious cycle that, according to Standard & Poor's, is going to leave us with, get this, a $94 billion debt by 2020. For a province that not long ago, because of sacrifices that we made together, was debt-free. All of this means more tax dollars. More tax dollars going to bankers and bondholders in Zurich and Toronto and New York, which means less tax dollars available for schools and hospitals in Edmonton and Calgary and Camrose. Now, as Margaret Thatcher, it reminds me, as Margaret Thatcher used to say, the problem with socialism is that sooner or later you run out of other people's money to spend. Or as Ronald Reagan quipped, socialism only works in 2 places. In heaven, where they don't need it, and in hell, where they've already got it. That's probably going to get me into trouble. But the deeper problem is this. It's the NDP's ultimate goal, is to remake Alberta into their own image. They don't like that idea of Alberta as the beating heart of enterprise in Canada. And that's why, for example, they're spending $200 million out of the healthcare budget, not on beds or nurses, but on washing machines, so they can move the laundry jobs from the private sector to the government. It's also why they're wasting $50 million to move laboratory services from an efficient firm to the state. None of this to improve public services, all of it so that they can grow the number of people paying mandatory dues to NDP-affiliated unions. Let's be clear. We respect and thank our public servants, and they understand, however, that our ability to pay for public services is dependent on the capacity of our private economy to create wealth in the first place. And that's why this government is going in the wrong direction. But the most obvious way that the NDP hopes to change who we are as Albertans is through the education system. They're preparing to attack Alberta's successful model of school choice. They've unleashed their AstroTurf front organizations to campaign against school choice. They're undermining parental authority and rewriting the school curriculum in secret. We all know what that means. More teaching fads and political agendas in our classrooms. Have you seen, for example, the outline of their new social studies curriculum? It's unbelievable. It's riddled with politically correct themes like oppression and colonialism and climate change. Not that those things shouldn't be taught, but they shouldn't be exclusively taught as virtually the only subjects. The same curriculum does not mention one word about parliamentary democracy, Confederation, Canadian history, Alberta history, economic literacy, the rule of law, or any of the other concepts that are key to understanding our society. But for me, here is the single greatest scandal of the NDP government. Their draft K-12 social studies curriculum does not include a single word about Canadian military history. The NDP wants kids to graduate from high school never having learned a thing about Vimy Ridge or Juno Beach, the Battle of the Atlantic, or any of the 118,000 Canadians who gave their lives in the defense of our country. What shameful ingratitude to those who gave their lives so that we might live free. All of these are reasons, all of them are reasons why we cannot afford a second term of this tax-raising, debt-quadrupling, job-killing, accidental NDP government. And that is why, a year ago, I launched our campaign to unite Alberta, saying, and I quote, "There is only one way to ensure that we defeat the NDP in 2019 and get Alberta back on the right track, and that is to unite Albertans around a common cause, around a united, principled, compassionate, and diverse free enterprise party, a party characterized by a sense of hope, optimism, and opportunity, a party focused on the concerns and struggles of ordinary Albertans. That means," I went on to say, both the progressive, conservative, and Wild Rose parties must put Alberta first. We must focus on the future and not the past, on what unites us, not what divides us. We must come together to form a single free enterprise party. We must do so before the next election because Alberta can't wait.